House Jessica Feared, based on a real story shared by our subscriber Jessica. It was midnight when someone banged violently at the front door, calling my father's name. But when he opened the door, there was no one there. Not once, but every night after that. And then it started entering the house. My name is Jessica, and what I'm about to share is not fiction. It's a memory, a trauma. I lived in Lahore with my parents and younger brother Zayan. Life was okay, until a bitter family feud erupted, one so dangerous that staying in Lahore became life-threatening. My father decided we needed to disappear, and fast. Within 2 days, we packed up and shifted to Peshawar, a city we knew nothing about. We were lost, unfamiliar with its streets, its people, and its shadows. A local estate agent showed us a large, old-fashioned house on short notice. We didn't like it. High ceilings, ancient fixtures, a constant damp smell. But my father had no time. He paid 2 months advance just to get us under a roof. "This is temporary," he said. "Just 2 months. Then we'll find somewhere better." We tried to convince ourselves. 2 months isn't long, right? But horror doesn't wait for an invitation. It only needs a crack, and our front door was wide open. Lahore. It became a pattern. Every night at exactly 2:43 a.m., the door would shake with forceful knocks, more like pounding fists. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't playful. It was angry. And worse, whoever it was knew my father's name. "Adil! Adil, open the door!" The voice was hoarse, growling like dry leaves rubbing together. My father, despite his courage, turned pale the third time it happened. He swung the door open. Nothing. Not a soul on the street. No footprints, no echo of retreating footsteps, just silence. We all began losing sleep. I started keeping the lights on. But the knocking didn't stop. One night, my father sat silently near the main door with a kitchen knife in hand. We begged him not to, but he was determined to face whatever it was. At 2:43 a.m. sharp, the knocking returned. He yanked the door open mid-knock. And again, no one. But this time, something was different. My father looked confused. I felt someone just outside. I felt them. The air was colder than outside, and something whispered my name right in my ear. From that night on, the house changed. Footsteps echoed in the hallway when no one was there. Doors creaked open on their own. The mirrors showed flickers of shadows moving behind us, even when we stood alone. But the worst part wasn't the house. It was what began happening to my brother. Zayan, 24 years old, started acting strange for him. It started subtly. Zayan began spending long hours alone, sitting quietly in the drawing room with his back to the family and his eyes locked on the wall. Sometimes he wouldn't blink for minutes. Sometimes he would smile at nothing. One night, around 3 a.m., I heard the sound of a door creaking open. I got up, half asleep, and peeked into the hallway. Zayan's room door had just opened. He stepped out in complete silence and began walking toward the drawing room. I called out to him, "Zayan, what are you doing?" He didn't respond, just kept walking slowly, like sleepwalking. But something about his body felt wrong. His steps were stiff, unnatural, and he was humming something low. I followed him quietly. He entered the drawing room and sat on the same spot as always, back toward me, eyes on the wall. Only this time I noticed his fingers twitching. His neck turned slightly, just enough to reveal the side of his face. He was smiling, but not like Zayan, not like my brother. It was an expression I'll never forget, like something alien wearing his skin. I whispered again, "Zayan, what's going on? Say something." Nothing. I walked closer and touched his shoulder. The moment I did, he jolted violently, gasped like he was underwater, and looked at me as if I had just woken him from a nightmare. "Jessica?" he asked, voice dry. "What am I doing here?" He remembered nothing. The next day it happened again. And the day after that. My father decided to take action. He installed a small security camera in the corner of the drawing room, hidden in a bookshelf. He told me not to follow Zayan that night. "Let's see what we catch," he said grimly. And what we caught on camera made my blood run cold. That night, my father didn't sleep. He lay in Zayan's room, pretending to rest while the camera watched the drawing room. As expected, Zayan stirred from his bed around 2:45 a.m. He opened the door like before, eyes half closed, and walked out. My father quietly followed him at a distance. Zayan sat down in the drawing room. Same place, same posture, back toward the hallway, face to the wall. Then it happened. Zayan began to chuckle, not his usual laugh, but something broken like glass cracking. The sound drifted eerily down the hall. For 40 minutes he sat there, occasionally laughing, sometimes whispering, sometimes just frozen. My father said it felt like the air in that room turned electric. The next morning, we checked the footage. The video began normally, until at 2:48 a.m. a black shadow slithered down the wall behind Zayan. Not walked. Slithered. Like smoke, but with weight. It moved unnaturally, fast, jerky, and wrong. It lingered near the ceiling, then dropped directly behind Zayan. And then it stood. A tall, twisted figure, all black, no face, just a shape, humanoid but wrong, its limbs too long, its head tilted unnaturally. Then it leaned down, right next to Zayan's ear, and stayed there. Zayan's head turned slightly, and he began to smile. For 20 minutes, the thing stayed with him, swaying, moving its arms like it was speaking to him, teaching him, owning him. When it vanished back into the wall, Zayan stood up and walked quietly to his room. No memory, no clue. My father turned pale. He didn't sleep for the next 2 days. He didn't tell my mother what he saw. Only me. He visited the neighbors the next day to ask about the house, and what they told him was even more horrifying than the video. My father went door to door. He asked the neighbors carefully about the house we were living in, about its history, past tenants, anything. Most people hesitated to speak. Some even closed their doors without a word. But one elderly man finally opened up. He lived 3 houses down, a retired school teacher. When my father mentioned our address, his face changed. "You moved into that house?" he whispered, as if saying the name too loudly might summon something. "Yes," my father said. "My son, he's not himself. Something's wrong." The man exhaled, looking around nervously. "You need to get out of there," he said. "No one stays longer than a few weeks. The house feeds on young men, especially those in their 20s. The last family had 2 sons. One died, the other disappeared." My father went numb. "The house has a presence," the old man continued. "Some say it's a she-demon, others say a curse. But many have seen a woman's shadow in the mirrors, and she doesn't like to be ignored." Another neighbor, a woman, joined the conversation. "My sister-in-law once visited that house years ago. Her youngest son screamed the moment they entered. He said a lady was standing in the corner watching. There was no one there." The stories kept coming. A maid who went mad after working there for a week. A boy who jumped from the roof claiming she told me to. A mullah who tried to cleanse the house but ran out mid-recitation, vomiting blood. My father was horrified. He confronted the estate agent the next morning, angry, furious. But the man simply looked away and said, "I only sell what's available. No one else would take it." The agent agreed to help us relocate, but needed a week to find another place. That final week was the darkest. We agreed to stay just one more week, 7 days, while the estate agent arranged a temporary place with one of his cousins. But that week felt like a lifetime in hell. My father refused to let Zayan sleep alone anymore. He locked the bedroom door from inside every night and slept next to him. But on the very first night of that week, at exactly 2:43 a.m., Zayan tried to open the locked door from inside, violently. My father woke up in a panic, holding Zayan back. Zayan's eyes were wide open, glowing almost silver in the darkness. His mouth was moving, whispering something in a language we couldn't understand. His nails dug into the door. He screamed, not in pain, but like something else wanted to come out of him. It took my father 30 minutes of loud recitation from the Quran to calm him down. Zayan collapsed, unconscious. But that was only the beginning. The second night, my mother woke up with long scratches on her arm. No one knew how. There were handprints on the inside of the bathroom mirror, but fog hadn't formed. And the mirror itself was cracked in the shape of a face. Third night, every bulb in the drawing room exploded, all at once. We were eating dinner when it happened. The room went dark, and Zayan started laughing. Loud, uncontrollable, hollow, my mother screamed. My father dragged him outside and began pouring water on him, reading ayats until Zayan fainted. Fourth night, I woke up to hear a woman humming, a soft melodic hum coming from the kitchen. But when I walked toward it, the light flickered and the humming stopped. On the kitchen wall, someone had written in dark red, "He is mine." We didn't have red paint. The next day, my father begged the estate agent for help. The agent agreed to let us move into his cousin's ground floor apartment that evening. But before we left, something unexplainable happened. My brother stood in the hallway and whispered, "She won't let me go." That evening, without another second's delay, we left. We didn't even pack. We took only what we could carry in our hands, some clothes, my mother's medicine, and Zayan, who seemed lost in a haze, like his soul had been half pulled out. His face was blank. His lips were cracked. He kept murmuring in sleep, "She won't let me go. She's waiting." The estate agent's cousin welcomed us into his large, peaceful house on the outskirts of town. We stayed on the ground floor in 3 rooms, grateful just to feel safe. But none of us could sleep the first night. At dawn, my father sent hired laborers to our old house to bring back our remaining belongings. They returned in less than an hour, terrified. One of them, an older man, came out shaking, stuttering in Pashto, saying there was something wrong with the air in that house. He said he felt watched the moment he entered, like eyes moved behind the walls. But what shocked them most was what they found in the drawing room. Scattered across the floor were dozens of broken bangles. Green, red, white, like someone had shattered them in rage or mourning. But no one in our family wore bangles. The laborers refused to return after that. My father had to find new help to finish moving the furniture. Zayan refused to enter the new house's drawing room for days. And then, one night, he collapsed struck. 3 days after we escaped the haunted house, Zayan collapsed while standing in the hallway of our temporary home. His eyes rolled back. His body went stiff. Then, from deep within his throat, a voice not his own growled, "Why did you take him from me?" My mother screamed. I fell to my knees in shock. My father, trembling, and began reciting Ayatul Kursi again and again. Zayan's body writhed. His arms flailed like something inside was trying to break free. Or break him. His voice deepened unnaturally, echoing as if two people were speaking from one mouth. Then he suddenly stopped, just like that, and fell, unconscious. We rushed him to a well-known Islamic scholar and spiritual healer who had helped many people in the past. The old man placed his hand on Zayan's head, closed his eyes, and sat silent for several minutes. Then he opened his eyes slowly and said, "This is not simple sleepwalking. Your son was chosen." My father asked what he meant. The scholar said that certain places, especially those with violent or dark histories, are breeding grounds for spirits and jinnat. He explained, something in that house, a female entity, a shadow spirit. She doesn't attach to homes. She attaches to people. We sat frozen. She didn't just want him to see her. She wanted him to belong to her. And when you pulled him away, she followed. The spiritual healer wasted no time. The house was silent, except for the steady recitation of Surah Baqarah echoing from the healer's lips. Zayan lay still, his eyes open but blank, as if he no longer registered the world around him. Suddenly, as the healer began the final verses, Zayan sat up violently. He screamed, but the voice wasn't his. "You cannot take him!" The lights flickered. A gust of cold wind burst through the closed windows. My mother clutched me. My father wept silently. The healer threw the black seeds into the burning incense and shouted back, "He is not yours. You were never invited. By the will of Allah, leave him now." Zayan thrashed on the floor. He clawed at his own skin, his face contorted, eyes wide, mouth open, unnaturally wide, revealing a darkness inside that seemed bottomless. Then a scream, so loud it shook the floor. It wasn't human. It wasn't from Zayan. It was as if the house itself cried out. And then silence. Zayan collapsed. He remained unconscious for 2 days. When he woke up, he didn't remember anything. Nothing about the house, the woman, the shadows, the whispers, not even his own screams. The healer advised us to burn all the clothes Zayan wore in the old house and to never speak its name again. Epilogue. We moved into a new house, far from that neighborhood. Zayan eventually returned to normal, laughing, studying, smiling. But some nights my father would quietly check on him. If he found Zayan even slightly out of bed, he'd shake with panic. Even now, years later, my father says, if Zayan wakes up and walks into the drawing room at night, I'll know she's back. We never speak of that house again. But sometimes I dream of it, the long hallway, the mirror with handprints, the broken bangles, and the voice behind the door saying, "He is mine."